Hi, and welcome to another episode of Being Surreal. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about how there are some subjects like history and psychology which you should try again after you pass school. So, when I was in school and I used to study history, I was not really a big fan of history because I didn't really want to remember all the dates and when what war happened. But after graduating school, I developed more interest in history, that now I like read random history and even read historical memes. And now I have realized that the reason I really didn't like history was because the way I was taught, really don't want to disrespect my teachers, but it wasn't really a fun way. And second is that who wants to remember these things for exams? Like, now that I think the only reason I study history is because I want to know more things, and this actually helps me in looking at better perspective on the things around me. And since I don't have any exams regarding it, so I don't really have to worry if I forget a detail. For example, if you are ask me when did the battle of Plaza happen, I may not really recall the date, but if you would ask me about how this thing happened during that time, and if I have read about it, I would tell you that this happened in this way, and that thing is pretty interesting. This got me into thinking that a lot of people don't really like subjects just because they were getting marked for it, and they would need to cram the information. If they studied that on their own, they might have probably liked it, because I find that in psychology and history are pretty interesting because they make you look at other people in more observing way, and I think it's pretty fun. Like, every time I'm out or like I'm in public, I look at other people and I observe them, how they are behaving, how they are acting, and I find that very interesting. Like, I look at a person and I'm like, huh, bad body posture, looks like this guy isn't confident enough, and that kind of thing. And I somewhat find it hilarious. So I think everyone should give a fair chance to these subjects after they graduate. Like, if you would look at history, you will understand how different things worked at that time, and why things are in a certain way like they are now. So there is no such thing as called random event. All of the events are chained and linked to each other. So a thing that happened in the past is linked to what will happen in the future. So decision you take now impact your future, and same thing, the rules and regulations we have now are not because of the condition of the people now, but it's of the observation of the people over a long period of time. So there are things like, for example, traditions. They were in past, they were there for certain reasons, and they are still being followed today. And this thing even includes superstitions. For one of the most common superstition is that you don't cut your nails during the night, because bad things will happen to you. But if you think about it, that time when this superstition was made, there was not proper lighting during the night, and they didn't really use nail cutters to cut their nail. They had very crude tools to cut that. So without proper lighting, they could have hurt themselves. So the wise people decided that people would rather believe superstition and godly acts more than they would believe science. So they came up with this theory that if you would cut your nails at night time, you will do harm to your family, etc., etc. But now we are in modern world and we have plenty of light and technology. Like, even at night you can make it look like a day, so we can cut our nails at night. Also, when you study something without the pressure of exam, you can enjoy it much more, because I remember when I used to study history for exams, I would be reading it in a way that I need to remember this, that Napoleon waged a war on this, is at this time, etc. But now when I read history, I'm pretty relaxed and I'm like, I'm just gaining more information. So I don't really need to worry about the mark. This helps me in retaining much more information than cramming it up. I read history for like 3 years and still I can't remember things like when this did happen. and probably because I just crammed that up. But I find remembering dates bit hard, like when this first battle of Panipat happened, etc. But if you would ask me about the administration of a very specific time or how things were there, then I would remember them more, because that includes a story, and story part is always interesting. For example, if you want to study history but you want to do it in much more enjoying manner, what you can do is you can read a very specific genre of books called historical fiction. So the book is actually a fiction, the story didn't happen, but the plot and theme is based on the real events. For example, one of this kind of book is The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. So it's based on the first time when Taliban took over Afghanistan and how refugees were treated, etc., etc. So you can read about it. So the story is fictional, so it's much more fun, but the events there, like how they ruled the place, etc., those things are real, so you can learn and enjoy at the same time. Once you are used to reading history, then you can go for the proper historical things, like reading autobiography or biography of different people, like Anne Frank is one of the most popular autobiography out there, and you can read that. And for psychology, I would say just read about random effects like placebo effect and these kind of things. And once you read about them, it's like you are getting into a rabbit hole. You read about one effect, then you read about more, and then what happens is that you start observing the same pattern everywhere. Like for example, if you read about body posture, how people with a slouched shoulder and bent upper back are less confident, etc. You will observe people standing with slouched shoulder. People can't maintain eye contact when they have low confidence, and you'll start observing that when you talk to people. And making eye contact is very important, so always do that. And with that, I'll end today's episode. Thank you.